From squirrel stew and cheeseburger pizzas to jelly beans shipped by the ton, here's every U.S. president's favorite food. And spoiler, some of them ate like kings, while others ate like college freshmen at 2 a.m. And one of them just outright banned broccoli? Grab a snack and get ready for the tastiest history lesson you'll get today. George Washington. Washington had a diet that could be summed up with the letter H. Hazelnuts, hot chocolate, honey, and hoe cakes. Get your mind out of the gutter. They're basically fried cornbread pancakes. And as for cherries, he loved those too, despite what the tree-chopping myth might suggest. His Mount Vernon estate was all about homegrown feasts. And he was the type who'd rather chow down with his soldiers than dine with aristocrats. Real cool guy. You know, when you forget the owning slaves part. John Adams. Adams kept it classic New England, no Tom Brady. His go-to dishes were codfish cakes, both flaky and fried, and apple pandowdy. In case you were unaware, an apple pandowdy is basically just apple pie that decided it didn't need a crust on top to be great. Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was technically one of the first food influencers. He went to Europe, discovered mac and cheese, and brought it back to America. He served it at White House dinners, making it a household name before Kraft boxes even existed. What a guy. James Madison. Madison was a private guy, so his favorite dishes are a bit of a mystery, but his wife, Dolly Madison, she was the dessert queen and played a role in making ice cream a White House staple. Rumor has it Madison was really into oyster ice cream. Yes, you heard that right. Oysters in ice cream. If the thought makes you gag, just know this was considered a delicacy at the time, probably. Don't quote me on that. James Monroe. Monroe had a sweet tooth that defined his White House dinners. His favorite was spoon bread, which is basically bread pudding's southern, maybe racist cousin. If it was bad for you but tasted like heaven, Monroe was all in. John Quincy Adams. Adams wasn't much of a foodie. He was too busy being a know-it-all, you know, being the highest IQ president in U.S. history. And on that note, be sure to subscribe, as we'll be making a video breaking down every president's educational level and then ranking them by their IQ. Anyway, while Adams wasn't big-backed like the rest, he was more fruity than foodie. So much so that he planted fruit trees in the White House yard. Apples, peaches, whatever. He loved them fresh off the branch. Talk about early branches of government. Andrew Jackson. Now, Jackson was a wild card in the White House dining scene. The man threw parties with, I kid you not, a 1,400-pound wheel of cheese. His favorite dish? Leather breeches, which sounds like something you'd wear into battle. It's actually just green beans cooked with bacon. Martin Van Buren. Buren was the Apple guy before Jobs, Wozniak, and that one-third Apple co-founder no one ever talks about were even born. From apple donuts to apple cake, give him a bushel and he was jamming out. His Lindenwold estate probably smelled like a fruit stand at a meat market had a very confused meet-cute. William Henry Harrison. Although Harrison served as president for only 31 days in office, making it the shortest presidency in U.S. history, he still made time for his uniquely favorite dish, squirrel stew. Don't judge, it was a pioneer staple. A staple I want no parts of personally, but a staple nonetheless. John Tyler. Tyler was the pudding king. He served so much sugar pie to guests it literally became known as Tyler's pudding pie. His White House guests probably left with a new favorite dessert and high blood sugar. Killer combo right there. James Polk. Polk was something of a cornbread aficionado. For dessert, he fancied a vinegar pie, which sounds like something you'd be forced to eat in a dare, but it turns out this was a tangy southern treat. If Cracker Barrel had existed, Polk would have been at the counter every Sunday ordering the whole menu. Zachary Taylor. Taylor loved Southern and Creole flavors. He was also a fruity guy with a fatal attraction towards cherries. During a 4th of July feast in 1850, he ate a ton of cherries and drank some milk in sweltering DC heat, leading to gastroenteritis that eventually led to his death. Not the best last meal, to be honest, but to each his own. Millard Fillmore. Fillmore, or MF Food, as I'll refer to him this segment, was the Tim Duncan of U.S. presidents when it came to food. He kept it strictly fundamental. Soup and stew were his jam, chicken noodle, beef stew, basically whatever was simmering. But props to him for modernizing the White House kitchen, making it easier for future presidents to whip up something less soupy. Funny enough. Franklin Pierce. Pierce is believed to have stayed true to his New England roots, with clam chowder, fried clams, and apple pie among his favorite dishes. James Buchanan. Buchanan loved lavish dinner parties, but had some pretty weird favorites. Fancy Philadelphia butter and cabbage. He was probably single-handedly keeping the sauerkraut industry alive at some point. Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln wasn't a big eater like that. He was a little too busy saving the Union, you know? But when he did eat, it was bacon all the way. Crispy, smoky, perfect. He also liked chicken fricassee and cornbread or gingerbread cookies for dessert. I cannot tell a lie. That's a great combo. Andrew Johnson. His favorite? Hoppin' John, a rice and pea dish that's pure soul food. If it was hearty and made you feel at home, Johnson was all over it. Ulysses S. Grant. Grant had a sweet tooth for rice pudding. Even as a Civil War general, he still found time to appreciate the comfort of a simple dessert. Rutherford B. Hayes. Hayes was obsessed with his wife Lucy's cakes, her cornmeal pancakes in particular. James Garfield. Garfield had a tough time eating due to health issues, but when he could, he went for squirrel soup, of all things. Two presidents deep into rodent cuisine, Chester A. Arthur. Arthur was basically the Wolverine of the White House, sporting mutton chops on his face as well as on his plate. He ate one for dinner most nights. To him, mutton chops was a lifestyle. Grover Cleveland. His go-tos were corned beef and cabbage or pickled herring. If there was a buffet, he was there. Benjamin Harrison. Harrison was generally a corny guy. Corn and anything corn-related. Think cornbread, corn pudding, corn turtle. His family threw massive White House feasts, which did include literal turtle on the menu. To be honest, I stopped judging after squirrel stew. William McKinley. McKinley loved meat and was a breakfast all-day kind of guy, especially a loaded egg casserole dubbed the McKinley omelet. Eggs, cheese, and all the fixings. Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy was an absolute carnivore. He could demolish a whole fried chicken in one sitting. KFC should have named a bucket after him. His 42nd birthday menu was pure chaos. Blue Point oysters, green turtle soup, peanut ham, crab flake beef, quail, and a dessert spread that probably outweighed his horse. His motto was, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." I guess we've just now realized he meant, carry a big stick which I could turn into a skewer for another meal. William Taft. The man ate a 12-ounce steak for breakfast, lunch, and sometimes 2 for dinner. No wonder he tipped the scales at over 300 pounds, making him the biggest president in U.S. history. Here's a fun fact for you. He once got stuck in the White House bathtub, which reportedly had to be enlarged afterward. Woodrow Wilson. Wilson's diet was shaped by his health concerns. His go-tos were chicken salad, grape juice, and raw eggs for breakfast. Man was basically eating like a fitness influencer while World War I was happening. Warren Harding. Harding, like some before him, had an affinity for comfort food. He loved chicken pot pie and knockwurst with sauerkraut. Calvin Coolidge. Coolidge was the quirkiest eater in White House history, which you should know by now is saying something. He called every meal supper, snacked at odd hours, I'm talking pickles during meetings, and mixed foods that never should be mixed, like apple pie and pork. Herbert Hoover. Hoover loved sweet potatoes with marshmallows, Thanksgiving style, with his own special recipe. His White House dinners were fancy until, the Great Depression kind of tanked everything. Franklin D. Roosevelt. FDR ate like a kid. Grilled cheese, hot dogs, scrambled eggs, and fish chowder. Pure Americana. Even during the Great Depression and World War II, FDR kept his menu simple, because nothing lifts spirits like a hot dog. If you don't believe me, ever notice how they sell them at every sports stadium in America? Exactly. Harry S. Truman. Truman was all about his mom's fried chicken. He also loved a well-done steak and meatloaf. Hold the onions. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower was a commander-in-chief who just so happened to be a legit cook, whipping up his wife Mamie's million-dollar fudge like a boss. Corn pudding was another favorite of his. John F. Kennedy. JFK loved clam chowder, or as he would put it, clam chowder. He reportedly kept a surprisingly healthy diet, which you would too if you were juggling running a country and dating Marilyn Monroe. Allegedly, of course. Lyndon B. Johnson. LBJ craved spicy deer sausage, barbecue, chicken fried steak, grits, and all things Mexican food. Richard Nixon. Nixon had the weirdest breakfast. Cottage cheese with ketchup. Can you even get weirded out anymore at this point? Balance it with a reliable meatloaf and you've got Nixon's taste buds wrapped up. Gerald R. Ford. Ford kept it classic with pot roast and red cabbage, followed by butter pecan ice cream. English muffins were his secret obsession. The meal your neighbor brings when you move in. Comforting, warmly ordinary, and unexpected. Kind of like Ford's presidency. Jimmy Carter. JC ate grits every day for, like, 100 years. He even named his dog Grits. Now, if that isn't peak Southern loyalty, I don't know what is. Ronald Reagan. Reagan made jelly beans a national treasure. Jelly Bellies were his desk candy, with 300,000 ordered monthly for DC offices. His 1981 inauguration? 3.5 tons of red, white, and blue jelly beans. The Jelly Belly factory even has a shrine dedicated to Reagan. George H.W. Bush. Bush Sr. put pork rinds on the map, boosting their popularity like Reagan did with jelly beans before him and like Jefferson did with mac and cheese before him. He famously hated broccoli, so much so that he banned it from Air Force One with the iconic line, "I'm the president, no more broccoli." Bush Sr. hated broccoli so much you'd think it invaded Kuwait. Bill Clinton. Clinton was a McDonald's loyalist. His favorites off the menu include cheeseburgers and Egg McMuffins. George W. Bush. Bush Jr. took cheeseburgers to a new level with cheeseburger pizza. Beef, bacon, pickles, ketchup, mustard, the works. Tex-Mex was his other love. If he wasn't invading Iraq, he was probably sneaking a cheeseburger pizza into the Situation Room. Barack Obama. Obama loved fancy burgers, none of that McDonald's stuff. And nachos. Oh, and broccoli as well, to Bush Sr.'s dismay. The plate of a modern striver. Plenty of greens, but hey, don't skimp on the cheese and crisp tortilla chips. Donald Trump. Trump is the real king of fast food. Big Macs, Filet-O-Fish, KFC buckets hold the fries. You can't convince me he doesn't have stashes of fast food secretly hidden throughout the White House. Trump's plate is as in your face as his tweets. Or should I say, as his Truth Socials. What do you call tweets on Truth Social? I guess tweets aren't even called tweets anymore, am I right? Joe Biden. Biden's choice of snack is relatively normal, all things considered. Ice cream. The man has been caught on camera grinning with cones more times than you can count, and the White House freezer is basically a shrine to every flavor you can imagine. It's safe to say presidential meals are a wild lens to observe history through. What's the most interesting dish out the bunch? Drop it in the commentary section.